She was a little surprised by the question. A light pink dusted her face as she tried to recollect her thoughts. She took a soft sigh as her memories flashed in front of her. Amber, my first girlfriend was Collei. Blushing ho ho. You dare to tread into my realm of romance? How insolent. The truth is, I, Fischl, have never. Whispers I have never had a boyfriend. I've never really met someone special who I could call that. Why do you ask, anyway? Not that I'm saying I like you. In that way. Ha ha. Laughs. What a curious question. I did go out with this nice-looking guy in the academia. He was really handsome. So suave and intelligent too. He was so charming at first, and then he turned out to be a complete jerk. Oh, that. Well, there was this guy named Diluc. He was a part of the Knights many years ago. We were very close. I even used to call him my boyfriend from time to time. My first boyfriend? I've never been very interested in matters of the heart, so I have no need to make room for a boyfriend in my life. All I am interested in is the constellation. Me? Don't be absurd. I've no interest in trivial relationships. I am a sister of the church. Any romantic involvement is pointless. To tell you the truth, no one. I've always been too busy chasing vengeance, so I never even thought about getting to know someone or falling in love. I had one in my youth. Hee hee, when the sun's out, the grass is long, and the birds are singing, there's no better time to fall in love. So they said. PFFT. It didn't work out though. My first boyfriend. Well, it was some time ago, and I was much younger back then. I didn't quite understand what romantic feelings were back then. But if you count the first person that made me feel those feelings, it would have to be Rex Lapis. Oh my, that's a rather personal matter, don't you think? The most intimate relationship I've had was with work. Beidou. A glint flashes in her eyes as she speaks her name. First, I dated a girl back in my hometown. She was cute, had smooth skin and long hair, and her voice was as sweet as bells. But I was far too restless to ever be tied to one place. The wind beckoned me. In the end, I left without even saying goodbye. First one? That's a tough one. I guess it was this boy from back in my childhood. He was such a soft-spoken, nice little thing. I think he said something about wanting to marry me when he grew up. Then he ran away with a traveling troupe to be a clown. Can you believe that? A clown? Who was my first? It'd definitely be Xianyun. But we never officially dated, mind you. Just some teenage romance. In terms of romantic relationships, I'm afraid to say that I have little to share. I'm the type of person who gets right to the task of removing unnecessary distractions, so I've never really been in a romantic relationship. The first person I ever loved goes by the name Giz Hong. Unfortunately, she is no longer amongst the living. Shogun, what an impertinent question. You must be from Liu. In all my life, I have never been interested in mortal pleasures and entertainment, and as such I have never had an intimate relationship with anyone. I have no use for such things. The pursuit of eternity knows no distraction. Boyfriend, girlfriend, you humans sure have colorful ways to refer to a lover. Ha. You're really curious, aren't you? Alright, Since it is I who you're asking, I shall grant your request. I'll tell you this, my first and most dearest lover was me? I've never had anyone I'd call a lover. That's just not someone I am meant to have. My life, my entire life, is devoted in service to the Shogun. I cannot, and will not, be distracted by unnecessary relationships. Such is the life of a general. Toma. I respond, my calm demeanor cracking as I reply your question. Chuckles. Oh, I haven't had any, to be honest. Fireworks are my true love. Snicker. I suppose I have no time for matters of the heart. What are you laughing at? No one. I don't have the time or the mental energy for a relationship during these turbulent and chaotic times. Oh, you're curious about my first lover? Ah, his name is Goro. Ah, an interesting question. My first partner? That would be... Mizuki leans back against her seat as she remembers her first lover. Her expression turned wistful as she answers the question. Kamisato Ayato. Ah, my first love. That would be the famous magician Lynette. The thought of her first love brings a smile to Chiori. My first boyfriend? Let me think. That would be... Tainari. I've never had a boyfriend before. Actually, I've never had much of a private life at all, because most of my time is spent practicing for my performances. I sometimes watch the relationships between other people, though, and I don't really understand it. A lot of strange things happen between couples. That would be an interesting story to tell. You probably heard of Cyrus, the guildmaster of the Adventurers Guild in Mondstadt, that he's my ex-boyfriend. That was a long time ago. My first boyfriend's name was Javid. He was such a sweet boy, with a kind heart and a smile that could light up even the darkest of nights. She continues to look at you with her blank expression, and after a moment of silence, she answers in a soft voice. Lynette, I've never had a boyfriend or girlfriend. Furina's eyes widened slightly at the unexpected question and her cheeks turned a tint of red. She immediately averted her gaze to the side and let out an embarrassed cough as she covered her mouth with her hand. And no one, of course. Why would I have a boyfriend? I have no time for such frivolous things. I have a nation to govern and justice to uphold. Boyfriend? How absurd. I don't have a boyfriend, nor do I have an ex. I only have my sword and gun. She grabbed her sword. Oh, you asking for gossip? She chuckled. Well, it's been ages since my first boyfriend. Oh, right. It's Fontaine's most renowned poet, Xavier. That is quite an intimate question. It's very obvious she's contemplating whether to answer the question or not for a bit, before eventually answering. Pantalone. Emilie chuckles softly. Oh my, what a personal question. You must be very curious. After a few moments of thoughtful silence, she finally opens her mouth. His name is Alain de Bez. We were childhood friends. Good question. I think it was. She thinks for a moment. His name was Collei. He was a hydrovision user. Nice guy, a bit shy, kinda clingy, though. A smirk appears on Mavuika's face at the mention of her first love interest. She seems to be recalling the memory of her first love. I see you are very interested in my intimate past. I like your attitude. Mavuika puts on a confident expression as she responds to your curiosity question. Many people would have expected me to have no time for love, given the status I hold in Natlan, but the truth is, my first lover was a blacksmith from the same village I hailed from back when I was still mortal. Xylonan stops for a second. It's rather rare for such a question to come out, but she seems to enjoy it. Huh, now that I think about it, it's been a long time, huh? Her eyes seem to be lost in a distant memory for a while, before she finally smiles happily. Her name is Vienna, lovely girl, very kind. To your question, Chaska seemed to be quite taken back for a moment, as she was not expecting a sudden and such nosy personal question. But, she didn't quite show any emotional reaction on her face as she gave you the answer. I have never had a boyfriend or girlfriend before. She said, her tone being indifferent, her stoic expression not changing. Citlali, well, it's kinda embarrassing to talk about it. But if you must know, it was a guy named Ajax. My first boyfriend? She blushed and fidgeted her fingers, thinking back. Well, he was a sweet little human named Daniel. Her expression turned slightly sour. But it didn't last long. He got spooked by my horns during, a private moment.